This way. Is that Prince for King? What's today's mathematics?
Truth is universal. Truth cannot be invented.
Then it was guaranteed that Marcus Garvey would come the next night. And the hall was packed with people. And everybody went with ammunition.
How they understand themselves as African, right, and American. Like, it's not either or, right?
Everybody who knows anything about Israel knows that in order to effectuate significant change, you not only need a majority, you need a Jewish majority.
America awards her killers, and they get ribbons and stripes and bars.
A U.S. State Department sponsored program and set of musical tours called the Jazz Ambassadors.
Talks about the work of Marcus Garvey and the work of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad as being demonstrative of, and he basically called them total nationalists.
But the reality is that African people are not vicious, violent people.
He's not teaching hate, he's teaching history.
Peace, peace, peace. Welcome to another episode of Wiser Dome TV. Today, I got some family in. Y'all have definitely seen them before on the show. My brother, Sunny Ture, my brother, Slank. We're here because Nation Time 4 has dropped. What an amazing album. Those who are familiar with the series, you know how they be coming. When it comes to these albums, if you're not familiar with the series, then definitely hit the link in the description. Start with Nation Time 4 because it is the newest one, and then work your way all the way back. But man, first off, thank y'all for coming. But this album is amazing, y'all, man. Like, no doubt. It's one of my favorite of the year already.
Yes, sir, man. Happy to hear that, bro. We put our all into it. We try to meet the moment, and it's still Nation Time.
Absolutely, man. You know, the last one was like one of my favorites of 2025, man. So and y'all keep coming with it, very consistently, man. Like, if for those who, may not be familiar with these projects, just kind of give people an idea of the theme, like what kind of inspired these Nation Time joints, because again, like these are some of the dopest albums out right now.
Slank, what's up?
Yeah, so like pretty much from the beginning we already put a lot of Black history stuff like that, themes of Black nationalism into our music. And when me and Sunny first started making music together, just naturally, the songs we created kind of all had that theme, that feeling. And so we came up with the Nation Time based off kind of the Amiri Baraka poem from back in the 70s and stuff. And just his ideas in general about art as a weapon in the revolution and the struggle. And since then, we've been incorporating a lot of his speeches, a lot of Malcolm's speeches, Khalid Muhammad, Queen Mother Moore's been on albums. This one had Fannie Lou Hamer. And just kind of mixing that in with the hip hop. And the newest one is the kind of the evolution of that, kind of a Black nationalist concept album series, basically.
Yeah, man. It's extremely dope. As far as production, and can you talk about the production on the album and that process? You muted.
Yeah, we can for sure touch on the production. For those that don't know, I'm Sunny. I'm the producer for the Nation Time series. And this time, I remember telling Slank's brother, we was at a show, me and Slank did a show in Lexington last year. I remember telling Slank's brother, this is before we ever recorded a single song for Nation Time 4. I was like, bro, I ain't even told Slank this yet. I was like, I think I'm gonna take this next one just up a notch. I was telling I want to work in more Southern flavors, you know what I'm saying? And I just want to just make it even more of a statement, And I know looking back at it now, going through the project, I hear it, you know what I'm saying? Like we still got that boom bap element for sure, that, soulful element, But I like how we was able to work in more of those Southern influences that both me and Slank is on. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
Yeah, no, you can hear that in the album, and I think that's what was really, really dope about it sonically is uh although you keep the same elements from that we all know and love from the rest of the Nation of Time series, this one does sound a little bit different because of those, added flavors that you put into the production. It sounds crazy in the car, you know what I mean? Definitely pass the car test, man. And I want everybody to make sure that they, download that ASAP. I was talking to Slank the other day. I definitely wanting some physical copies of this joint, man. So whether it's vinyls or CDs, y'all just let me know, and I'll definitely purchase it, man.
Now, I appreciate you saying that. It's something we've been thinking about since Nation Time Volume 1. And, there's a couple things that go into it, cost being one of them.
Yeah.
But,
Hmm.
I know with this project, me and Slank have been talking for months now that we want to meet the moment in all regards for this project, So
Hmm.
you can expect that. And also, this is an exclusive for Wise the Dome TV. Y'all can also expect a deluxe version of
Oh.
Nation Time Volume 4. You know what I'm saying? Because we got more in the tuck, we got more in the vault for sure.
Yeah, there were some other songs that we made in the process of making these, because that's what we usually do. Usually make more songs that end up being on the album.
Hmm.
But this time, like, we felt like we needed to. We didn't even want to not put these on this album. We didn't want to make it too long, type of thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, we're planning on releasing like a deluxe version, like you said, here in a few months or so, something like that.
Yeah, man. Album, no skips, like definitely, and obviously, like you mentioned, like you'll hear Dr. Khalid Muhammad, you hear Malcolm, you hear Fannie Lou Hamer, but it also is like a dope ass album musically. You know what I'm saying? Like I think sometimes um people think that when a artist or a piece of work is like considered quote unquote conscious, that it has to give up something musically. But this shit gives up nothing like musically. Like it's dope. You know what I'm saying? And the subject matter just puts it over the top. You know what I mean? Um, and I guess like I want to kind of get into, because whenever we do these interviews, like we kind of go back and forth from music, the album, and Black nationalism itself, and things that has to do with the idea and framework of Black nationalism. And one thing that I saw recently was it was a big account. And I believe it might have been a white dude from like the American Communist Party, possibly, but he's pretty much calling Black nationalism Negro Zionism. Whenever y'all, I know, right? Whenever y'all hear shit like that, like what are your first thoughts that come into your mind whenever they try to play our traditions in that manner?
Yeah, to me, it sounds similar to the argument I've heard people who don't know anything about the Black Panther Party. White people say it's like a black KKK. You know what I'm saying? Like to
Hmm.
try to equate it with something violent, hateful, uh, that's white. They'll try to, our groups that do positive things or movements that do positive things. It gets equated with the most, heinous versions of white nationalism, racism, etc. And there's just no history of Black people doing what the Zionists have done. Basically,
Right.
we've never, uh, Black people in the U.S. have never, taken over another nation like that, genocide of the people, had the control of the banking systems and the
Mm.
entertainment industry. Like we don't, it's not us. So to say, yeah, it's just like a straw man argument.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just follow that up and say, Black nationalism, it gets a bad rap all throughout the academy. It gets a bad rap all throughout the nonprofit, philanthropic world, you know what I'm saying? And that all Slank and I have talked publicly about where that comes from. That comes from a certain type of funding, from a certain type of
Hmm.
place, you know what I'm saying? And
Hmm.
Zionists ain't far departed from that conversation either, you know what I'm saying, once you dig into it.
So,
So
well, let's go ahead and get into that because there are some themes on the album, right? Like grassroots and things that um address like Ford Foundation, donations to quote unquote black radical organizations or black intellectual think tanks. If you can talk about that some and why that's a thing, and also like why you felt it was important to address on Nation Time 4.
For sure. I'll kick that response off. I'll just say Nation Time three was directed towards those State Department rappers. That was a major
Yeah.
theme. You know what I'm saying? Those rappers that was taking checks, working for Blinken, and they didn't mind doing it for a Democratic regime. But maybe they feel differently now that Trump's in office. Maybe they don't work for the State Department no more. We got to check with some of the D1. Do you still get the State Department checks?
Why they cut his funding?
Yeah, Chuck D. Are you still getting them too? I'm just curious.
Right.
But Nation Time 4, like you said, we kind of switched the theme up. Still stayed on topic though. You know what I'm saying? And we wanted to critique the funding of black organizations. And let me just say up front, this is not something that I'm just looking at from the outside. I feel like I'm an expert on this topic. I've been part of organizations, national black nationalist organizations like Malcolm X grassroots movement, where I saw the effect of white philanthropic dollars up close, because of their close partnership with Black Lives Matter. I saw the repercussions of that up close. You know what I'm saying? So even after my time with MXGM, it was easy for me to look at Black Men Build. You know what I'm saying? And within, just a very short window of research time, able to see, where their funding is coming from, what they are tied to. I'll stop there. Maybe Slank, if you want to talk more about what we was able to uncover, and why we decided to, put in this out.
So I had vaguely heard of that group that you just mentioned, Sonny just mentioned, Black Men Build. And then I think what really got me looking more into it is they posted a video with D1, who, as Sonny mentioned on Nation Time 3, we talked about rappers that receive State Department funding. And D1 he gets funding from this Next Level program that works with the U.S. State Department, sends rappers overseas to link with dissidents. I don't know what they be doing, but yeah, I know what they be doing, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I was like, damn, that's interesting that they got this promo video, very high budget, talking about how black men, we need to heal and atone for the damage we've done to our community, stuff like this. Like the message was kind of a little off, it seemed like to me. And then they was rocking with D1, State Department rapper. So I looked more into it. Sonny looked more into it as well. We found that, at the bottom of their website, it says powered by the Working Families Movement or Party or something like that. We said, what is that? We looked into that. It's this like a DSA type of spinoff founded by this white Zionist dude named Dan Cantor back in the day, who grew up working on the Israeli kibbutz and shit like that.
Wow.
So he was like, oh, it's very interesting that Black Men Build is a project of this Zionist dude's political project. And then we started looking into the funding. Oh, they're getting $500,000 grants from the Ford Foundation, Rockefeller grants, $100 million from Soros. And these are the same type of grants and nonprofit funding and stuff that was going into the Black Lives Matter movement, co-op and the Ferguson movement, things like that. Same actors. Maurice Mitchell, who works with the Working Families Party, was the head of that. A black dude, actually is MF Doom's cousin. He, and like I said, Working Family Party is connected to this Black Men Build organization. This Maurice Mitchell guy was involved in Ferguson, working with this group called Blackbird that was along the same thing, kind of diverting the Ferguson movement into a more watered down, liberal reform movement that kind of takes the teeth out of what's really going on and make sure that no real fundamental change happens. And so, yeah, when we seen okay, this Black Men Build group, they're positioning themselves as this new group for black men. Then we looked into their message. They're pushing the founder, Phil Agnew, was on an interview talking about how they were a black feminist organization and how they were pushing, black feminism and stuff like that. And it didn't, because when I hear Black Men Build, I'm thinking we're building businesses and it's a more a Nation of Islam, Garvey type movement, but they're talking about black feminism and all these things that are approved by the academy and are funded by the state. And
Vote Democrat too. Every 4 years,
yeah,
I'm sure you're gonna see a black man bill. They probably gonna rev up to get people out to them polls again for
Yeah.
a lame ass party like the Democrats.
Mm.
yeah. And so yeah, that we kind of like posted about this on Twitter. I know Phil Agnew has since deleted his Twitter account. I don't think he didn't want to come. We asked him to come on like a podcast with us, talk about it. We even emailed one dude sent us his email, told us to send him some more information and he'll dialogue with us about it. We didn't really get much response from that. So we went ahead and made a record about it, called Grassroots. It's on the album, pretty much talking about how Ford, Rockefeller, these groups are not designed to empower Black people. And when you're taking $500,000 million grants from them, they come with strings attached.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
No, go ahead, Slendy.
Yeah, I would just say, with that money comes access. If these white philanthropic organizations, are paying all these millions, that comes with access. That comes with reports back and everything. And that's been part of their game for a long time now. You can look back at the 60s and see, this type of thing. Even the Ford Foundation's involvement back then. I mean, we spoke. Slank and I have shown people, what Robert Allen and Black Awakening in Capitalist America have said about the Ford Foundation, and so it definitely gets deep.
Can y'all go
But
into can y'all go into that a little bit? Robert Allen and what he spoke about as the Ford Foundation specifically, and also for the people who may not even know like what Black
What it
Man
is.
Build is. Like
Okay.
because I remember the conversation whenever it was happening on the timeline, and like it just seemed like they were like hella vague as far as the way they were the brother was trying to answer questions about whenever it was brought up, hey, you're taking Ford Foundation money. So like if you can go into like just talk to the people about specifically the Robert Allen chapter whenever he's talking about the Ford Foundation, but just for a
Yeah.
little bit of context, kind of let the people know who Black Man Build is and what I guess what they say they're designed to do.
Yeah.
So I'll go over Black Man Build, and then I'll pass it to Slant so you can touch on Robert Allen.
Mhm.
So yeah, Black Man Build is a black male led and focused organization. And let me just say this up front because it seemed like there was a lot of pearl clutching and people getting nervous and squeamish when we started, laying out this critique of Black Man Build. We can lay out a critique, and that doesn't mean that we don't feel like people don't do any good work in the community.
Yeah.
We can lay out a critique, and that doesn't mean that every single person involved with that organization is a problem or toxic or something like that. So I mean, it seemed like that was the response that we was getting a lot of times, and that's unfortunate. I think that kind of goes into why they wasn't really able to meet the critique. They try to drag us off into private conversations.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying, on phone calls, or they wanted to get us on a Twitter meet. And Slank and I never even used that feature before.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I mean, Black Man Build, they do a lot of reading groups. They do a lot of, type of communal like therapy for trauma and stuff.
And are they
I'm just,
self-proclaimed Black feminists?
yeah, oh yeah, oh I mean, yeah, I mean, I'll let Slank touch on that more. But Phil Agnew in an interview on Black, let me get this right, Black Liberation Media, he interviewed with my former advisor, Sundiata Chajua.
Hmm.
And where Sundiata was praising this nigga, you know what I'm saying, and while he's talking about how feminist organization is, it makes me kind of question, Sundiata, are you really the revolutionary nationalist you say you are?
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Because I don't understand how somebody's a Black revolutionary nationalist working for Black Liberation Media, and they work with the police department in Champaign, Illinois. They're best friends with the police chief in Champaign, Illinois.
Damn.
You know what I'm saying? So that it supports the Democratic Party.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah,
Right.
Black Liberation
Damn.
Media, Sundiata. I got a question, an ideological one. But yeah,
Mhm.
Slank.
No, facts. That was all facts. And just like some background on the Ford Foundation, it's Henry Ford, the car maker, whatever, uh, Nazi supporter. Back in like the 30s, I think his family, they made a private foundation basically where they give grants and donations to different causes and things like that to try to, it's really for tax purposes, but, to try to get their name out there, make them look like they're doing this good work, shit like that. But from the beginning, the organization was headed by, it's like a revolving door with CIA, government, FBI people, and Ford Foundation leadership. Mm-hmm. So like you had John J. McCloy, I believe his name, was one of the first heads of the Ford Foundation. He was instrumental in starting the OSS, which became the CIA. He was the guy who oversaw Japanese internment during World War II. Mm. He was the guy who, during the Nuremberg trials, got a lot of the Nazi war criminals off so they could bring them to America in Operation Paperclip and stuff. Just not a good guy, you know what I'm saying? So he's running this organization in the 1950s and stuff like that. Then you have McGeorge Bundy, U.S. National Security Advisor during the time of the 60s and things like that. So it's these people that have been doing nefarious things against Black people in the government. They become heads of the Ford Foundation, just kind of keep it going.
I just want to underline that point and emphasize it because I feel like people are going to listen to that and skip over it. Slank just said the former director of the NSA, National Security Administration, I think is the acronym, right?
Mm-hmm. Something like it, yeah.
They left that position and went into the president of the Ford Foundation.
Back in the 60s or late 50s, something like that.
There is a long and deep connection, like Slank is saying, between the federal intelligence agencies and these big, large, white philanthropic organizations like Ford Foundation. There are direct linkages decade after decade with people like McGeorge Bundy and McCloy and stuff.
Yeah, the current lead, one of the, I don't know if he's leader right now, but one of their leaders nowadays, Darren, he's a Black dude.
Is it Walker?
Something like it. Darren Williams Walker, something, I forget his exact name, but he was in the Epstein files, winding and dining with, that just came out. So nowadays they on that shit. But
I sent that to Slank. I ain't posted that out yet, but I need to post that. Epstein had a meeting with the Ford Foundation President Darren Walker. Yeah.
Damn. And so, but in Robert F. Allen, the Allen book, the Black Awakening Capitalist America that we was talking about, he was talking about in this one chapter how in the 60s specifically, the Ford Foundation was basically trying to control Black revolt, tame the ghetto was their word for it.
Wow.
And so they were putting a lot of money into funding like the NAACP, organizations like that they thought would have control over the Black people, the masses of Black people, basically. Mm-hmm. So they were realizing the NAACP didn't have as much pull in the 60s that they used to. Right. Groups like the Urban League and stuff, it wasn't hitting the same with how much they could control the masses of Black people through funding those groups to pacify us, basically. So they were like, we need to start funding more militant sounding organizations because that's where the pulse is right now. Mm-hmm. So they started an organization called MARC. Robert F. Is his name? It's not. It's Robert L.
What's you talking about? Robert Allen?
Robert Allen. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I know. I keep saying F like Robert.
Yeah. Robert L. Allen. Yeah. Robert L. Allen.
Okay. So so he writes about how this group called MARC was created basically to take Ford money. They put a guy in charge of it, Black dude, who was supposed to sound more militant, but really steer the militancy into like more business investment in the Black community, more reform movements. And they also started funding CORE, which was the Congress of Racial Equality, a more, a bigger group kind of up there with like SNCC and those kind of groups at the time who had a more militant rhetoric. And they started funding CORE and to try to divert it into more like, just depending on white philanthropy, they're going to push a more watered down. Their version of Black Power included like getting business investments from the white government entities and businesses into the Black community to pretty much, they wanted to tame the ghetto. That was their whole thing. Yeah, they tried it in Cleveland specifically, as Alan talks about, and they were successful. They didn't have the same type of outrisings in Cleveland as they did in other parts of the U.S. So they thought this experiment, it was a success. And even in the 90s, you can hear Steve Coakley talking about how the Ford Foundation is funding Black groups in the 90s uh, to try to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And then so nowadays in the 2000s, you can find these grants. They're open. It's online. They have to report who they're giving grants to.
Okay.
So now in the 2020s, you got the same thing happening again. And yeah, that's what we was pointing out, is that historical continuity between like the 60s, the 90s, today, same white philanthropy groups. And it's not just Ford. Somebody on Twitter said Soros ain't as bad. He funds good things. You know what I mean? Because people often associate the right wing with bashing on Soros and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But Soros got his start funding dissident groups in Eastern Europe prior to the fall of communism in Europe. And that was not an organic fall, as a lot of people know. Like, there was a lot of U.S. manipulation and putting certain leaders in power and backing certain leaders to get a more reformed, watered down version of what they was doing until boom, it fell. So like, or was caused to fall. So Soros brags about how he was instrumental in the fall of communism, and his Open Society Foundation is all about as open society as opposed to what they call the Iron Curtain. You know what I'm saying? So they're this
really mean open
communist society. It's not like it's some good like, because Black Lives Matter, they get Soros money. It's not bad. They fund progressive causes, like, but nah, it's for a specific purpose to steer it in a certain direction. Yeah.
And those entities will never support revolutionary Black nationalism. They never have. They might support a brand of nationalism that is inoffensive to the Democratic Party, inoffensive to the overall political standards that we got here, but nothing that's gonna go against them too heavily. They might talk around some revolutionary subjects, but they're not trying to, take our condition and our grievances to the UN. So we're not even meeting the standard that leaders in the 60s set, like Malcolm X, you know what I'm saying, about what the solution is to our problems. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's really just let's have these surface level conversations about revolutionary ideology, maybe twice a month, and then we're gonna get people out to vote every 2 to 4 years, and that's our revolutionary nationalism. I'm not settling for that.
Right.
I think we can do a lot more, and I plan to do a lot more in this lifetime. This music is just part of it.
Right. No, man, I'm glad you said that. Like, and whenever we look at groups like, I don't know much about the Black Men Build cats, but whenever they were confronted with this information, like, hey, why are you taking this type of funding? What was kind of their response?
They didn't give a response. They tried to take us to side rooms, private conversations, and talk more about it. Or they were complaining that they still did good work despite that funding. No, but I mean, one of the people that we were talking to actually admitted that it was a contradiction. So they're aware that the contradiction exists. So I said, instead of trying to talk to us privately, why don't you release a statement acknowledging this contradiction? You know what I'm saying? And maybe plotting out something publicly for changing it, for resolving that contradiction. You don't need to talk to Slank and I privately to do that.
Right.
There's no need.
It's like they were trying to keep that. They didn't want that to come out. It's what it sounds like, if they're trying to do all of these back chats and private conversations about it. And one thing that kind of struck me from what you guys said is, like, as we know, and you just mentioned, revolutionary Black nationalism is a bad word in these spaces, but Black feminism will get you the funding. You know what I mean? If you guys want to speak on that, like, because what we are seeing too, even within the podcast space, a lot of the quote unquote radical podcasters that are getting these deals, these podcast deals, and have these uh you know really huge platforms, considering what the topics are. A lot of them are self-proclaimed Black feminists. You know what I'm saying? I want to say, what doesn't FD Signifier consider himself a Black feminist? Like, I felt what'd you say?
I said for sure.
Yeah, right. And so I feel like all of these, like, I feel like all of these cats are kind of connected in a certain way, right? But revolutionary Black nationalism, Pan-Africanism, these things seem to have fallen to the wayside in public discourse for a more accessible Black feminism.
Yeah, for sure. I think, Black feminism it gives groups, leaders, the ability to appear more radical, revolutionary than they really are.
Hmm.
And we've been seeing that. I'll respond to that question like this. My time in Malcolm X grassroots movement. You know, I think this is the ideological conference in 2019 or 2020.
Hmm.
I present at the National Ideological Conference. The paper that I present, along with somebody named Alex, not cool with him no more. We presented a paper that was basically how can we integrate the advancements that we're seeing in Black male studies? How can we integrate those advancements within our program?
Hmm.
In that paper, it was laid out that, instances, this phenomena of anti-Black misandry is evolving and growing. You know what I'm saying? This, and in the past 5 years, I think you can, I've been, that's been verified, you know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? But anyways, I presented this paper and Black men and women at this national ideological conference for MXGM start sniffling, crying, talking about, yes, I'm talking about grown people, older Black women even crying, talking about you're trying to take away the advancements of Black feminism. You know what I'm saying? By in any way centering Black men.
Hmm.
It was perceived by this petty bourgeois intellectual class, which makes up the leadership at MXGM. It was perceived by them to be a threat against the advancements of Black feminism. Well, that was not at all part of it.
Right.
Maybe it was coming against the bourgeois middle class Black feminism that's more so equipped to scratch and crawl for a better position in the
Hmm.
present society.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I did come at any brand of politics that did that. And
Right.
oftentimes that's what this is. You
Hmm.
know what I'm saying? A lot of these people on this nonprofit industrial complex, they're putting feminism in their shit for the, like you said, for the funding. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? If you center Black men and boys, you're not gonna get as much.
Right.
That's the reality
You
we
might
live
not get
in.
shit.
You know what I'm saying? And if Black Men Build or other organizations can't, if we can't launch from the truth, you should be criticized and put away, put outside.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Ultimately, that's what we got to do. MXGM, Black Lives Matter. I don't give a fuck. NAACP, Black Men Build, all of them can go if we can't start with the truth.
Right. Facts. Facts.
Black Alliance for Peace. I'm not coming against anybody. Any of them can go.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? All of them should go if they're not going to be able to launch from the truth. And I mean, one reason the Black Power, this is what my dissertation research is looking at. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking at Robert F. Williams' Revolutionary Action Movement. I think one reason that they were so successful in reaching the Black working and underclass was because their program resonated culturally with the Black
Mm.
working and underclass. To resonate culturally with the Black working and underclass, you have to tell the truth. And the truth is, we all see and perceive the unique things targeted against Black men and boys.
Right.
As a community, we're okay, left alone, making a political vehicle or political movement in response to that. That's what we did during Black Power. This idea of revolutionary or militant Black manhood was common throughout all the Black communities, and it worked in a complementary role with Black womanhood. But now to say that and to stand on that, you have to answer all these questions about black manhood. That's toxic. We can't center Black men. That's taken away from Black feminism. But that doesn't change the racist conditions we're under. You know what I'm saying? Black male studies does have a point we all need to consider, and that is racism is a misandric backlash.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? When you look at social dominance theory and who is targeted with lethal violence.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I know I just said a lot right there. I'll pass it
No,
to
no, you
Slank.
good. You good. You good. Slate, did you want to add on?
Uh, yeah, I agree with basically just to add a little bit. Like when you look at some of the funding that the Ford Foundation does outside of like just what we mentioned about these groups that we talked about. Like you can go down the list. They're giving like millions of dollars to Black Feminist Fund, things of that nature. So it definitely is. Even Black Men Build gets less money than the Black Feminist Fund just because I guess they ain't got it in the name or something. But yeah, it's a thing like a lot. So a lot of white feminism in the was took was kind of copied by the black feminists in the early 70s, like Michelle Wallace and stuff. A lot of white feminists were literally quoting like Klan scientists and slavery Dr. Cartwright and stuff on like how brutal black men were to women and stuff like that. And then because a feminist quoted them, that kind of sanitizes it away from the source. And then a black feminist will quote that later. And so you got like 2 degrees of separation from a straight up like
from a
Confederate
Klansman.
doctor.
Yeah.
Who and then they're using that basis to say like, black men are inherently violent, stuff like that. And that's exactly what the establishment wants. I mean, you can see mass incarceration overwhelmingly targets black men, police violence, stuff like that. And it's been that way since slavery. During the slavery times, antebellum times, something like 80% of the runaways were black men. So the slave patrol system was overwhelmingly focused on controlling, containing black men, and it evolved into the policing system we have today. And just media, everything is focused on this like evil caricature of the black man. And I think black feminism kind of, a lot of the proponents of black feminism, like Bell Hooks or, Michelle Wallace, things like that, that are kind of the pillars of that tradition, they they kind of repackage this racist, misandric language against black men in a gendered terminology to make it sound acceptable in academia. And then, now white people are quoting bell hooks about how bad we are and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, yeah.
Yeah. Just real quick, I just want to
No,
say
we good. Let's build.
On that. I just want to say, we all should read a black woman scholar named Clenora Hudson Weems. She wrote about Africana womanism. And Clenora Hudson Weems's Africana womanism is different than the type of womanism being paraded around today. The type of womanism being paraded around today is seen as basically the same as feminism. And Clenora Hudson Weems called this out in her article on Africana womanism. She was going against this Alice Walker form of feminist politics that looked at, womanism is violet and feminism is purple. You know what I'm saying? Basically, they're two sides of the same shit. Clenora Hudson Weems said, no, that feminism shit is not for us. You know what I'm saying? And she laid out an Africana womanism that went in a different direction, did not seek to complement feminism. You know what I'm saying? But it's something that's much more recognizable to what we grew up around. Yeah. I just put it like that. So in that sense, I consider myself an Africana womanist. And I'll just say this too. Nowadays, we have, even in the New African movement, you have New African womanist scholars in MXGM that are going with the Alice Walker definition of Africana womanism. You know what I'm saying? That and thus they're able to say, feminism is compatible in the black community, despite all its contradictions throughout history. Right. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, this bears out today. We seen last year, this is where a lot of this, the critique that Slank and I had against Black Man Bill comes from. There was a national radical black political conference in Indianapolis, Indiana last year, planned by people like MXGN, Black Alliance for Peace. And I forget the third organization, but the fourth organization at the table was Black Men Build. Despite them getting all this money from these white philanthropists that's pushing them in this certain type of direction, you know what I'm saying? Right. Can you, my question for Black Alliance for Peace, Malcolm X grassroots movement, every single organizer of that black political conference last year, can you be a black radical as an organization and accept millions from white philanthropic organizations like the Ford Foundation? You know what I'm saying? I just want to put the feeler out there, understand where we're at. You know what I'm saying? Like, do y'all feel like y'all can be a radical? You know what I'm saying? While having to report back to your white daddy. You know what I'm saying? Like, these questions got asked last year, did not get answered. Black Man Bill got in their group chats. They probably reignited the group chats they had for the conference. You know what I'm saying? They probably woke up the dead group chat. It was like, yo, who are these people coming at us? Right. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever they said. Because, I called that out too. I'll call that again today.
And even speaking of like Western feminism, before the attack on Iran yesterday, a lot of the framing around why America needs to attack Iran was its treatment of women, the oppression of women. And ironically, whenever I had woke up and I had seen that the attack took place and the war was on, one of the first things that was hit was a school with 51 little girls killed. And those same quote unquote Western radical feminists haven't said a damn thing about it. What do you make of things like that?
Yeah. Shortly after that, they hit a gym and killed like a whole volleyball team.
Damn.
So yeah, they're doing stuff like that. But yeah, it's I mean, it kind of goes to what I'm sure Sonny attested it with what Fanon talks about how in I think it's Algeria Unveiled is the name of the piece, but uh how the colonizer, is trying to like own the women of the colonized. Basically, it's not about liberating them; it's about white access to these women, basically. So they're not really interested in women's rights and stuff. They're going to make propaganda and stuff and use it as an excuse, but they're really just trying to get access to the country, the resources, including, what I'm saying, controlling Iranian women, I guess, is what they're on. So, yeah, that's what it's about more than anything.
You know what's so crazy about that shit? Like ever since the bombing of Iran started, I'm seeing a lot of white nationalist men say things like, now Iranian women can do OnlyFans. Now they can do porn. And it's like that's the first thing that their mind is going to. It's sick, bro.
No, and that's a great point. I mean, Fanon in that chapter that Slank mentioned, Algeria Unveiled, he said the first act of colonial warfare, not the second, not the third, the first act of colonial warfare is the attempt to basically make feminists out of the colonized women to distance themselves from the men. And one thing Fanon said that the colonizer system would try to convince these colonized women that their men were trying to demonetize them. You got to look closely at the word that he used. It was not demonize, it was demonetize.
Wow.
One of the first acts of colonial warfare is this attempt by the colonizer to convince the colonized women that their men will demonetize them, lower their value. Fast forward, actually just to maybe 15 years, 20 years or so, you have Michelle Wallace with Black Macho and the Myth of the Superwoman, this foundational Black feminist text, still paraded, still celebrated today, even though when she wrote
They
it,
got
she
a
said,
copy of it at the African American History Museum and Culture, like right on display.
when she wrote it, she said in the newest edition of the book, her new preface or whatever says she wrote it at a time when she did not even know that Black men were capable of love. She wrote all these lies about the Black Power civil rights movement, about how all the men were just trying to become white men. But she said this at a time when she was so sick in the head and spirit, she didn't know Black men were capable of love.
Wow.
And that's what Miss Magazine, the CIA, Gloria Steinem, all of them latched onto and promoted that. It's still being promoted. Now, in that book, the reason I brought it up here, Michelle Wallace said that Black men in the Black Power movement would devalue the women. They would lower the value of the women using very similar language, you know what I'm saying, to what Fanon called out as the first act of warfare. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I mean, this idea that Black men are so detrimental to Black women that we will lower their value by their association with us.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And we're seeing that all throughout, politics.
Yeah, that's deep. That's deep. And speaking of like what's been going on overall, um, you know, we recently saw the kidnapping of Maduro in Venezuela. Um, we've heard Rubio talk about coming for Cuba. Rubio was at some conference in Germany not too long ago, pretty much to a standing ovation, talking about the need for the West to start to colonize the global South again. Then obviously we have what happened with Iran last night by the hands of United States, Israel, And I want to say even the UK has now said that they're going to be sending troops to aid and support. Whenever we look at where we are, right, and all of the things that are happening in America by like, well, in America, including like what's going on with ICE and all of these different things, but internationally, with the West, just like, what do you guys make of it all? We are in some unprecedented times, in my opinion, not that this is something new, but they are just way more overt about what they want to do and the things that they are doing than possibly before. A lot of times before, they would kind of frame things to have some type of humanitarian purpose. Like they don't even give a fuck about like even lying at this point about like what this is for. Even like whenever we look at what happened in Venezuela and the Maduro thing, you know, Trump was on record saying before he got kidnapped, you know, they have our oil, you know, and so, but where we are, you know, politically, like just what are your thoughts on everything that's happening in the world?
I'll just say something shortly. I mean, as far as the whole Cuba and Global South thing, I'm happy that Cuba smoked Marco Rubio's buddies on that speedboat that he sent on that dummy mission. You know what I'm saying? Killed
Right.
about half of them. I'm happy that occurred. Uh, Man, I'll pass it to Slank though. You know what I'm saying? We definitely in a rough spot though.
Hmm.
Yeah, I would say it's a more barefaced like era of imperialism.
Yeah.
Kind of harkens back to like uh the older era where they did the same thing. They were more open with it because they just didn't acknowledge the humanity of other peoples. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's kind of like they're back to just, openly saying we ain't even gonna pretend like we're doing it for humanitarian reasons anymore. We want the oil, or we don't like their government, or just cause and yeah, like Trump will get on, the news and just openly admit things that Bush would try to or tiptoe around. So it's just the the level of what's like acceptable to the American people just keeps, I guess, getting like tested, and
Yeah.
the majority go along with it, don't really question much of it, so they just keep moving it further and further. And now it's definitely troubling.
No, that's you mentioned something.
Yeah,
I'm glad you said that because that's what I've noticed, like how they're able to manufacture consent and how people begin, how we respond to it is kind of insane to me right now. Like the lack of humanity that just a lot of the average American has for anybody that, and we know who the main cause is, but the main demographic is, but even our own people sometimes too, like especially with the advent of these nativist groups like FBA and ADOS, where they will co-sign America's imperialist efforts all over the world. It's just amazing to see like online and on the news and so on some of these podcasts how far we have gone from seeing our struggle being related to the struggles internationally.
yeah, no facts.
You
And
know,
even the struggles domestically, like you mentioned, like some people say like the ICE thing isn't our struggle and stuff like that. But I mean, like if they're, coming to round up Haitians and they're looking at checking IDs and shit, it probably is going to end up being you're going to get stopped and frisked
yeah.
eventually because they're going to, run out of, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like
Hmm.
it,
Well, didn't it was a black man in ICE custody. I can't. The story kind of slips my mind because there's been so much going, but it was he was blind, right? Is a black
yeah,
man, and
I think he might have been like South Asian or something. Like
okay, okay,
he was some type of refugee.
mhm,
He looked like black though, like skin
yeah,
wise, you know what I'm saying?
hmm,
But yeah, they like uh detained him, drove him somewhere and dropped him off, and he like froze or died just
damn,
wandering around.
hmm,
That was pretty recent. And yeah, they killed another black man, I think in California, I believe. Porter
yeah,
was that the
hmm,
black? Yeah.
hmm,
So like yeah, but even domestically, like people are kind of like desensitized to even like the surge of that.
yeah.
It seems like so. Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy times. It's
It-
nation time. We
well,
gotta.
that's what I was about to bring it back to. Like you mentioned, how like in the Black Arts movement and Baraka, and how they saw our art as a weapon. And we are in some times that's real serious, you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
a lot of people are feeling that. A lot of people might have some type of anxieties about everything that's going on. A lot of people fired up, trying, ready to do whatever they got to do. But regardless to whom or what, like albums like this are important because they help become that soundtrack for how people are feeling about what's happening in the world. When we talk about art as a weapon, and we talk about albums like Nation Time 4 and the whole Nation Time series, like, can you talk about just the importance of using our art as a weapon to reflect the times and the political ideologies that we're trying to push forward?
I think it's super important, art, cultural production. These are the things that reach the masses. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? These are things that we can all take in, appreciate, and then talk about together. That's what art allows us to do. We can collectively kind of mediate and ruminate on things together, things that we witness together. You know what I'm saying? Like it's really only cultural production, maybe some essays or something like that that can get into the mix. But it's important that we have things for collective reflection. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? That is essential. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really see a whole lot of people doing what Slank and I is doing with the Nation Time series. You know what I'm
I
saying?
don't.
Reminding people that, we still in a nation time. We still in a time for nationalism, things that, something we should be paying a lot of attention to.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'll stop there.
Yeah. And I'll just say, especially for Black people in the US, Black people globally, like expressing these kind of ideas through music is part of our tradition. Like in West Africa, there used to be the griot who would, you know, he would study the history and the folklore of whatever people or group he was part of and pass it down through songs, through things you can remember. Because a lot of times it's easier to recount the history if you got it to a beat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you got it to a guitar riff. Uh, and same thing in, nowadays, like people might not check out a whole book or something if I tell them to, go read this book on this subject. But if we put it in a song, grassroots, and it sounds, you know what I'm saying, uh, something you can bop to and stuff like that, they'll get the message about they might not go and read Allen, his
Hmm.
whole book, but they might, okay, now I know about the Ford Foundation trying to sneakily fund these
Yeah.
Black groups to push an agenda and stuff like that. So, uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
I,
basically.
I think if Slank and I were successful and maybe making 2 dozen more people more aware and just look out more for this type of problem in Black politics, we were successful.
Oh, I think you're already doing that. And that kind of leads me to I guess the next question. Like for people who are looking for an organization, they may be new to this space, right? And maybe recently become radicalized. Uh, can you talk about the importance of looking into the background of that organization, seeing where the funding is coming from, and why that matters?
That's a great point. I'll say this. I think it's very important. I don't know if I can look out and say like as far as like any like mass like national organization that exists now, I can't look and say there's any perfect one.
Yeah.
But there's not ever going to be a perfect struggle.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So even when I critique organizations, I would still encourage people to join the movement, join
Hmm.
the organization. You know what I'm saying? One that as closely as it can align with your values, and see if you can change it from within. Especially if you don't have any experience organizing in an
Hmm.
organizing space. You know what I'm saying? Like I know it might sound crazy what I'm saying to certain people, but it's because I'm in a lot of senses a veteran in organizing spaces. I've built organizations. I've joined national organizations. Took part in a lot of different activities. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I would say it's definitely important to look into the background. Also, be courageous enough to try to change it.
Hmm.
And then, I think that these organizations should be struggled with.
Yeah.
That's the only way that we're going to change them or figure out what we should build in their stead.
Right. I think that's probably also why it was important for you to kind of get that message out, especially when looking at groups like Black Men Build, because like, hey, if we understand what the Ford Foundation is trying to do by funding these organizations, then we need you to make a statement on why you're okay with taking the funding. Are you okay with them, leading the direction, the ideological direction of your organization? Are you okay with that, right? And I think those are important questions. I don't think that there's nothing disrespectful about it. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing, um, we have to be diligent in that manner, and it's kind of interesting that the response was
Oh,
back
my
chats or
bad for
or
cutting you
leaving
off.
Twitter. No, go ahead.
I hate to cut you up. Some of the response Slank and I got was people saying, "Well, people that sit on the sidelines or don't do anything in the movement,
Mm,
they shouldn't have no voice." So like, y'all niggas don't even know me.
right, right.
You know what I'm saying? Like y'all just just answer the critique. Y'all should just focus on answering the critique. Because if we got into it, like started comparing resumes, I've never done that. But if we did, I don't have no fear where I'll
Hmm.
land in that.
Right, right.
You know what I'm saying? So just focus on the critique. That's what I'll say to people. But
Slank,
yeah,
you posted something yesterday that was I had never heard of this before, but it was talking about like a Jewish humiliation ritual that Colin Powell, Thurgood Marshall, Obama. I was like, yo, what is that? Like,
Yeah.
but if you can, like, I couldn't do this show without asking you about that because I had never seen that before. But can you talk about what it is and also like, where what book you found that? Because I know there was you posted screenshots and some sources.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you can't get into that some.
Yeah, the source of the article I posted the screenshots from was from like I think Tablet Magazine, which is like a Jewish, publication. Yeah,
Hmm.
I think it might have used to be a newspaper. Now maybe it's online. I'm not sure. I don't read it. I don't not subscribe or anything, but
Hmm.
they have a lot of articles related to like Jewish history, politics, stuff like that will be on that.
Yeah.
So that's where I got the article. With the screenshots and one of the screenshots was from like the Times of Israel or something like
Yeah.
that, one of their
Yeah.
news articles.
Hmm.
So they were both Jewish news organizations that posted those. But basically, the concept is on the Sabbath, observant Jews don't do any kind of physical activity. That's why they would close their businesses and things like that on Saturdays, even during like slavery times. A lot of the I know in Suriname there was a heavy Jewish population that was involved in the slave trade in Suriname. So they would close the slave auction blocks on Saturdays during the
Hmm.
Sabbath because they weren't allowed to work or whatever.
Hmm.
Not that they was the ones doing the work,
Yeah.
but yeah. So they have what's called a Shabbos Goy. A Goy is like a non-Jew or Goyim in
Mm.
like the I don't know what like Hebrew or Yiddish. I don't know what
that's what
language that
Epstein
is
was
exactly.
calling it.
Huh?
I said that's what Epstein was calling it.
Right, right. That's where I
Yeah.
saw that. Yeah, yeah.
So Shabbos I think means like maybe the Sabbath or something. I
Hmm.
don't speak Hebrew. So I think
Hmm.
it means like a goy that you use on the Sabbath. That what it does mean is a goy, a non-Jewish person that on the Sabbath does like the little work or chores that a Jewish person can't do because they're observant.
Hmm.
And even like things like turning on a light is seen as like
Work.
labor, I guess. So
Yeah.
they have literally uh a non-Jewish person that they'll hire, I guess in the case of Colin Powell, when he was a young man growing up as a teenager and stuff, he used to work for a bunch of different Jewish people and turn off their lights, do chores, sweep the floors for a couple quarters and shit like that.
Yeah.
And so he became like real. He loved that, I guess, because like he later would brag about how much Hebrew he knew and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Thurgood Marshall, a prominent Black Supreme Court justice. People see him as like a civil rights figure, although he's done a lot of things that I would disagree with. Involvement with the FBI,
Mhm.
questionable decisions, foreign policy wise, rulings he made. But he was also one of these Shabbos goys in his youth. And in the article, like a clerk was interviewing for the job and told him like I'm not gonna be able to come in on Saturdays, because of my Jewish religion, and I can't work on this holiday and this holiday. Thurgood Marshall was like, "Oh, and you missed this holiday and this holiday," and he started like speaking Yiddish to him and shit. So like the dude was like, "How do you know?" He was
Mhm.
like, "Oh, I used to, turn off the lights for old Jewish dudes for change back in my day, like on Fridays and Saturdays. So Obama did the same thing when he was a state senator in the late 90s. He had shared an office with the Jewish state senator, and the Jewish state senator bragged about how he was so like basically he was his butler on Saturdays. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what it came down to. Like, and I call it the humiliation ritual because like I don't see what would possess somebody to do something like that.
Straight up.
It's not monetary, like especially in the case of Obama, like you're already a state senator, bro. That at that point, like that's just going out of your way to be subservient to this group to like try to gain favor. And it seems like almost a lot of the most prominent Black men in America, in terms of like success within the white structure framework, participated in this, you know, as a stepping stone almost to becoming getting in their position. So I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I just say what makes it even more humiliating is the fact that these Zionists have a superiority complex.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like these people feel like they better than you. Like they are God's chosen people and you are not. And you got to do shit for them because they don't feel like doing it on Saturdays.
Right.
It should be cracking me up. I know maybe one of those days they're not supposed to leave the house, but in certain places like New York, they'll put like a string around like a whole like half a borough so they can travel throughout their house.
Oh, really? Oh, no, that's
and there's the sheet. I don't know if you know about that tradition.
What's
They're
that?
not allowed to like Orthodox Jewish folks aren't allowed to have sex with their wives when they're on their periods, which, you know, yeah, I would agree that shouldn't be a thing. It's kind of, you know, but anyway, to get around this, like they have all these like little loopholes and to get around it, they have a sheet and they cut a hole in it and then just have sex through the hole and they say that doesn't count and God won't know or some shit like that. And I swear to God, this is true. You can look this shit up. I'm not making this shit up. Yeah.
Oh man, see that's crazy, and that kind of even reminds me something too. Like when today I saw like there's so many international flights of Zionists leaving Israel right now. Now that shit then popped off. It's so cowardly, man. You know, it's so cowardly. Like when some smoke is brought to you, now this is no longer your homeland, right? You're going back to New York, you're going back to London, you're going back to Germany, you're going back to all these other places. Like when you and didn't Netanyahu flee to Germany yesterday too as well?
Yeah. And yeah, I saw that. And then Yahoo fled. And also he went to high school in Philly.
Right.
So like he's not from there either. It's like it's a vacation spot or some shit. Like none of these people is from there. Their parents is from Poland and Russia and you know, Ukraine and stuff. And then if they were born, they might be born in Tel Aviv, but yeah, their parents either from like Eastern Europe or they from like New York, Brooklyn, Philadelphia, Boston. I don't, you know, shit like that. Like they got accents, like they from like Netanyahu talks like he's from Philadelphia. Like
exactly.
Like he's not even from over there, but he's talking about he's native. It's his land. He has a right to, you know, carry out these genocides and shit because the Bible said that's what they do to Amalek and all this weird shit. Like it's all this. Yeah, it's just white supremacy with the Jewish supremacy, white supremacy.
Isn't it kind of crazy though, like that? Like even though, you know, Theodore Herzl may have been an atheist, but even though like this idea that they are like they justified genocide and colonialism by using a saying they have an ancestral connection to somebody that possibly didn't even exist. You know what I'm saying? And this is seen as a legitimate ideology by the West. It's just so mind blowing sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it seems like the U.S. is a client state of Israel. You know what I'm saying? Like Israel done spied on us. Israel, didn't they steal a nuclear weapon?
Damn,
Israel stole a nuclear weapon from the United States.
In the 60s, they bombed a U.S. ship just to test out their weapons, the USS Liberty, I believe it was called. And you had senators in the U.S. Congress bragging about their efficiency. And they killed you. Like they couldn't even critique an open like attack on their own ships. It was called the USS Liberty. I forget what year in the 60s. But
that is insane, bro.
Yeah, there's a good
I,
video by GDF, the YouTuber,
Okay.
on the whole situation. It's just he goes into all the quotes and stuff and the sources, but it's ridiculous.
Now, I wouldn't be surprised if some of these attacks like on Saudi Arabia, UAE that's going down in the past 24 hours,
Hmm.
like I wouldn't be surprised if some of them was actually by Israel. You know what I'm
Oh
saying?
yeah.
Just to get other groups involved in this aggression against Iran. You know what I'm saying?
I can see that too.
Yeah, that's right there in their wheelhouse. You know what I'm saying? For
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
Ben Gurion, one of their old presidents, actually said that, uh, and this is from a book by a guy named Lilienthal, a Jewish writer. Uh, the book is called "What Price Israel," and then the other one's called "The Zionist Connection." But in both books, he mentions this that Ben Gurion, one of the former Israeli presidents, had a whole scheme where he said we need to foment and create anti-Semitism throughout the West, throughout the Middle East, different parts of the world, to you know drive up immigration to Israel by Jews, and also to just show the world that it's anti-Semitism is still an issue, so that they'll back us in our
Right.
crusades against other nations. And he did it in Iraq specifically in the 50s. They bombed a lot of Jewish synagogues. There was a
Hmm.
lot of Jewish synagogue bombings. They blamed them on Arabs and stuff like that. But it turned out it was Zionist operatives that were
Damn.
going into Iraq, bombing Jewish synagogues to make it seem like there was no safe place for the Jews there. And then they would all come to Israel and fill the ranks of the army in Israel, help the colonial project, settling, stuff like that. So it's not, it's very on brand if they did, you know what I'm saying, do these kind of false flag shit like that.
Yeah, that's a man, that's sick. I mean, and uh so recently it was this month. What was the news between I guess some new relations between Israel and Kenya?
Uh, I didn't see the new relations, but I know their president, I think, is it Ruto or something like that?
Hmm.
He's been very, I posted years ago, he went to Israel and like bowed to the wall. You know, he was doing all the things you got to do. Like
Yeah.
he's very close to Israel and just trying to suck up to the West in general. Like he's willing to send Kenyans to Haiti to enforce the Western, you know what I'm saying, occupation basically, but just do it in blackface to make it look good. Uh,
He
but
looked like, from what I saw, it looks like Ruto was giving them settlement in Kenya for a lot of
mm,
their business people to come over and do their thing.
that's
It is,
interesting.
yeah. I have to find the article, but
Uh, real,
yeah, go ahead.
before we end up, I just want to
Hmm.
say this just real quick.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not part of the Islamic faith or nothing like that, but I do respect it tremendously. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? And I know that Iran just lost their supreme leader in the attacks, the
Hmm.
Ayatollah. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely just want to say rest in power over
Yeah,
that way for sure. You know what I'm saying?
absolutely.
Because I think a lot of times they try to describe us as primitive for having leadership that's not them.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? The fact that like people in Iran follow the Ayatollah is right now, presently, for decades now, really has been read as primitive by the West.
Right,
Like these people are stuck in the past. They need
right.
to, get with the times. And I don't go with that thinking. You know what I'm saying? I think we got to, like, cultural leadership is very important. It's something that we've lost touch with in Black
Hmm.
America.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So rest in peace to the Ayatollah. That's all I got to say.
Absolutely. Well said. Well, I agree 100%.
Right.
This whole idea of modernity and universality, that's some white man shit that they use to justify destroying savage black and brown people all over the world. But I do want to get both of your, I guess, to sign off with, just we came here for the album. We talked about a lot of different things, but I don't want people to lose track that this is an amazing ass album. The link is in the description. And to make sure, you run up those streams, you run up and just listen to what's being said, put your people on, you know what I'm saying? Post it on your social medias, you know what I'm saying? Post the links on your social medias so people know how to find it. But, I just kind of give you guys your parting shots, just to talk about the album and then we'll sign out.
Slank and I put our all into it. You know, the beats, the rhymes, the mix, the transitions, everything is there, you know, for a hip hop fan.
Oh, this mix
And
is great, by the way. I didn't mean, I'm not trying to cut you off, but no, like, RZA always talks about how certain albums, you can play one album and then you might have to turn it down. The next album might turn it down or turn it up. Like this is perfect. Like the Cars test, man. Like I was listening yesterday in the car. I mean, it's perfect.
yes, sir, I appreciate it. We put a lot of time into that. I know I was worrying Slank a lot, trying to like, no, I gotta change it. I gotta change the Slank. I gotta change the Slank. Uh, but I'll say this too. Slank and I are completely 100% reliant on new Africans, conscious Black Americans, really, and
Hmm.
those that are at the diaspora to support us. We're
Yeah,
not going to be supported by the algorithm.
right.
You know what I'm saying? We're not going to be thrown no bags by the algorithm. You know what I'm saying? We
Yeah.
talk too much about Israel. We talk too much about racism and things like that. We go against feminism. We go against all the things that they reward. We go against usually.
Hmm.
So
We
yeah,
had some
we
hiccups even
rely on
just
y'all
getting it
sharing.
out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, DistroKid tripping, you know what I'm
Really,
saying?
really? What?
I think
Wow.
I
What did
think it
they
was
say?
a deeper we had to upload the album a couple times, go
Hmm.
through like some things just because yeah, they didn't want the message to come out,
Yeah.
probably. But they
Right.
gave, little procedural technical issues and stuff like that that we've never encountered before on that end. So
Hmm.
I just thought that was interesting. But we
Yeah,
got
that
we
ain't
got
no
it out still
coincidence.
on time. So during Black History Month and everything. So yeah, and
Oh
yeah,
yeah. Also, tell the people about the album cover. The guitar. Just I know what it is, but like if you can just like talk to the people about the artwork because I also think
yeah,
that we have we come from the era where artwork has always been important to the album. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Sometimes now it might be some people may not feel it to be as important, but to me it still is. This album cover is amazing like the rest of them. But if you can't explain that to the people.
yeah. So this album cover uh before it's been always been me and Sonny kind of coming up with the ideas, but usually we'll have somebody else from the collective kind of actually do the designing of it and
Mhm.
taking that vision to bring that vision to life and everything.
Yeah.
This one it was just me and Sonny the whole thing. The guitar on the front is supposed to be an M16 guitar, like both a weapon and a guitar. So that's just kind of going with the theme of like art as a tool in the revolution and the struggle uh that Baraka talks about throughout the album, that we talk about on all the albums, stuff like that. But yeah, so I hand drew that and in the age of AI art too, like
Mm.
I think that's important to just, like I sat down in my notebook, drew that, took a picture of it, put it on the iPad, and then just kind of redrew it in a more of a digital form so I could send it out and mess with
Yeah.
it more on the computer. But
Who's the guitar from?
Peter Tosh, he was a reggae artist back in the 70s, roots reggae. Uh and he used to rock that guitar. He had a guitar. It wasn't exactly like that one, but like the colors and everything. But it
Hmm.
was the same shape. It looked like an M16, but it also had strings. He was playing that shit
Yeah.
like as a
Yeah.
weapon with the
Yeah.
music.
Yes.
So I thought that was a dope concept. Talked to about Sonny. I said I'm gonna try to draw this shit, and it came out pretty nice. Then we found a good photo of the Spirit House that Mary Baraka used to be at
Hmm.
during the Kwanzaa celebration, I believe. They have a jazz band in there playing jazz. You got the Swahili words in the back. You got Malcolm on the top. So we just kind of put the guitar over that. And front cover is the stock and the main part of the guitar. The rest of the guitars on the back cover with the album track list listed and stuff like that. So yeah, all in-house. We drew that by hand, like architects, you know what I'm saying? That's how we be
Hmm.
doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Because
yeah,
man, because a lot of people kind of leaning on damn Chat GPT for album covers right now. I don't really like
yeah.
that, man.
It don't look real. And that's part of
Mm-mm.
what we even talked about, how like the Muhammad Speaks, the Black Panther newspaper, like half of the aesthetic, you know what I'm saying, was
Hmm.
dope, and it looked real, it looked grassroots, it looked like they really, Emory Douglas was really drawing cartoons every week and
Right.
taking his time, and even with the imperfections, it was real. Like
Right. Right.
uh and it got across the message in a quick art form. Like just looking at the album cover, you can tell, okay, you see the red, black, and green, you see Malcolm, you see the weapon, the music, you know what I'm saying? So yeah.
No doubt, no doubt, man. Like always, I appreciate y'all for just coming through and spending the time and just building. I appreciate the music, man. First and foremost, because again, the movement gotta have a soundtrack, you know what I'm saying? And these Nation Time albums are always in that soundtrack. And this is already one of my favorite albums of the year, constant rotation. Since it comes out, I look forward to the deluxe album. Also look forward to the physicals that drop, you know what I'm saying? And we always gonna promote y'all work on Wazadome TV because it's extremely important. So, you know what I'm saying? Y'all my brothers. I appreciate y'all. You know what I'm saying? Anything you need from me, all you gotta do is let me know and I got you.
I appreciate you, brother. Much love, man, for sure.
No doubt.
Sam, appreciate you having us on. And I forgot to mention too, we got some merchandise, some shirts coming out.
Oh yeah.
Soon too. So be on the lookout for that. Just check out Twitter or something. We'll post them eventually. But yeah.
For sure, man. For everybody, appreciate y'all for tuning in. It was Sunny Ture, Slank Shabazz. Make sure y'all check out the album Nation Time 4. It's on all DSPs. Extremely dope album. You know what I'm saying? You won't be disappointed. Peace.